All right, fractions. What are fractions? Well, this is a fraction, and we can say it in a bunch of different ways. We could say 2/3, or 2 out of 3, 2 over 3, 2 divided by 3, and you could even think of them sometimes as ratios, and it's 2 for every 3. But right now we're dealing with just fractions, and so the top of this is called the numerator. The bottom number is called the denominator. And that little middle bar in there, that's our division line. So that actually means divide. That's why we say 2 divided by 3. Alright, so what we have here are two different types of fractions. We have two classifications of fractions. We call them proper fractions or improper fractions. These are proper fractions. And these are improper fractions. Can you tell the difference? So for proper fractions, if you probably noticed looking at it, the top number is smaller than the bottom. These are all less than 1. Right? And these are all greater than 1. They're improper. Now you can also have negatives and positives. We're only dealing with just the positives right now to keep this simple. So less than 1 positive-wise, there are proper fractions. What it basically means is if you have a proper fraction, it's from one whole, you can cut that one whole piece into a proper fraction. These are improper, which means that what we're going to have is actually more than one whole. You could have 2, you could have 3, you could have more, but this is 1 and 3/4, and all of these improper will actually give us more than 1. Give us a mixed number, basically. Alright, fraction-wise, I just want to make sure everyone's good here. So, what I want you to do is just shade these in. See what they are, and well, why don't we just do them together, huh? So what we have is we have 1/4, 2/4. So you would shade 2 out of 4. 3/4. And then the entire thing, which is 4 out of 4. And so what it means is when you have a fraction, it's 1 out of 4 pieces. If you cut a whole part into 4 pieces, you get 1 of them. If you cut it into 4 and you put 2/4, it means you get 2 out of the 4. And so on and so on. That's all fractions are. They're a portion of a whole. Or portion of many wholes, however you want to look at it. Alright, so what we have here are the rest of the fractions, and they're just two different shapes. Usually when we write fractions, you can do them as circles, or you can do them as rectangles, and we represent these as basically each of these is one whole. So a circle is one whole, a rectangle is one whole. And whenever you have circles, you want to always cut them in half, and then this is 1/2, so we shade one of the two. If you have rectangles, since it's also an even number, you want to cut it in half. With rectangles, you want to do vertical lines. You could also do horizontal lines, but this one we shade 3 of the 4. And you notice it doesn't really turn out nice. So when you do these, you want to do different colors. You don't want to just pick the same color each time. It's just not going to look right. That little bar in the middle is going to disappear. See, I just went over it, but it's still there. So that tells us we have 3/4. You can even do them horizontally. So the whole point is that if you cut a fraction, it's supposed to be relatively equal parts. Each of those, if you have 5/6, each piece is supposed to be equivalent. So when you shade these, you want to make sure, cut them in parts, you want to make sure that you cut them relatively equally. You don't want to have, here's a rectangle. Okay, that's 4ths. No, what the heck is this? It's huge over there. Everything should be equal parts. That's what fractions are. So, one more. If you have a circle with 8s, if you want to do 8s, 8s is just half. And then if you cut that in half, you get 4ths. And you cut those in half, and now you have, you guessed it, 8. So that's how you get to shade 8. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 8s. That's what 5 8s looks like. And like I said, you want to make sure they're all relatively equal to the best of your ability. But but it should always be a nice, clean fraction. Okay, when we talk about fractions, we always think of just these little bars, these little fractions. But that kind of hurts us when we get to word problems because this is only one scenario. Alright, so we have three basic ways of looking at this, and don't get caught up on the names. We have continuous quantities, discrete quantities, and sharing equally. And what it really basically is, you have continuous quantities. We're talking about like a little measured thing, something that we're measuring. It's a length, a width. I know you just think, why continuous? We're not going to get into that. We're just calling it continuous. So when you think of a continuous, we're talking about one simple object, and what we're going to get is, see if I can do this nicely. It's pretty decent. You're going to get 2 of the 5 pieces. It's basically taking one item and cutting it into 5 pieces, and you get 2 of them. The other type of situation that we have is we think of it as discrete quantities. You're not going to cut up. So if you read this, it says, show me 2/5 of a 10-person team. You're not going to take people and cut them up. That would just be sadistic and weird. So what it means is that if you actually were to write out 10 circles, that's why it's countable objects. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2/5 mean you would get 2 out of every 5 people, because we're talking about person team here. So that means you would shade 1, 2 out of every 5. So it's 1, 2, 1, 2 out of every 5. And that'll give you exactly what we're looking for, 2/5 of a 10-person team. The other way to look at these, and this is the last one, I'm thinking, well, what's different? We have one item or we have multiple items, right? Well, you can also think of it as this situation. Remember, these are divisions. So it's a sharing equally view. Jim has 3 candy bars to share equally among his 4 friends. How much does each friend get? So basically the fraction itself is the answer. If you have 3 things to share among 4 people, it doesn't go in nicely, then what it is 3/4. Think about it. If you had 6 bars to share among 3 friends, you would get 6/3, which is 2 bars per friend. Well, this is the same situation, but they don't go in nicely. But you want to know this because if you were given that question, 3 among 4 friends, the answer is 3/4. And here's the reason why. You have 3 candy bars, 4 friends. So you got to think about it. Each candy bar you're going to break up into 4 pieces. Right? And then you're going to do the next one as well, because you have 4 friends. You got to break each bar up into 4 pieces. Okay. So we'll call the first guy Jim. I just like the name Jim. Jim gets 1 of each of the 4 pieces. That's a girl, so we'll call her Sally. Sally gets 1 of each of the 4 pieces. And what color should I use next? We'll do blue. And then we'll call him Thomas. Thomas gets 1 of the 4. And then Bobby, the very, very last one, he gets 1 of the 4. So if you look at it as a picture, as one whole piece, right? If you were to take each of these pieces and put them together, it would be 1, 2, 3. If you were to compare that little piece right there, you take and share it up equally. So right over here, you have the 1 candy bar, and each of them is going to get 3 of 4 pieces, which is 3/4. No matter how you look at it, if you take 7 and you divide it among 8 people, each person gets 7/8. That's it. That's what the fraction works. So those are our 3 different situations that you have with fractions: continuous, discrete, and sharing equally. Okay? Below here are some practice problems. I want to see if you can figure them out. Hit pause and see if you can work these out. Some are pictures, some are just little word problems. Alright? So hit pause right now and try them. Okay, and here we go. These are your answers. So the first 2 are continuous types. You have 1 inch, a measured inch. So if you wanted 3/4 of an inch, you just cut it into 4 pieces and you shade 3. If you want 3/8, you cut it into 8 pieces and you shade 3. That's what 3/8 of an inch actually represents. Alright, next one also continuous. I don't know we think it that way. You can kind of think of it as discrete as well if you physically have these pounds. But they are measurements, it's a weight. So we have 250 over 2,000. That would be the fraction. We have not done reducing, so I'm not reducing it. Alright, next one is a sharing equally view. And so it's 4 pizzas among 7 friends, so each person gets 4 sevenths. That's it. And then this one is now a discrete model. You can actually count them. Of the 88 keys on a 36 key of the 88 keys on a piano, 36 are black. What fraction of the keys are black? Are not black? Oh, I messed up there, didn't I? Didn't even read the question. It says not. So it should have been this, 52 out of 88. And then when you reduce it, you get 13 out of 22. Because 88 take away 36. 52 are not black. Right here, this is the number of not black. Alright, and then the last one, well, 43 correct out of 50. And that's the fraction we should get. There you go. Thank you.